So like I had to, whenever they went off to school, like I had to change my purpose because I finally could, like, you know, make that decision that I didn't have to just be a mom. Like, yeah. So like when I always felt really uncomfortable when I started kind of branching out and seeing people, like meeting new friends. I always felt really uncomfortable being like telling them straight away that I had kids, because then your identity to other people revolves around you being a mother, and that's it. They don't see anything else. Oh, she's a mom. Ooh, like, yeah, it just becomes like really weird and awkward. Like, and so like and unless the subject came up naturally, I would never go out of my way to be like, I have kids. Like, yeah, not because I'm ashamed of them, but mainly because I wanted people to see me. I didn't want people to see my label as being a mother. I wanted them to know me and see me rather than just my role. Like, yeah.
Yeah, do you know, that is one other reason that I think I totally see where you're coming from. And I think it's a mixture of things. I think you're right, people do judge people.
Yeah.
I like they judge people who don't have kids, but they also judge people who do have kids. And I do think that there are people out there, and again, people whose life's purpose. Like my mum, for example, she was quite happy to always just be a mum. That was her. And that's what she talked about all the time. And I worry about that as well, because I have worked so hard to be okay in myself and my identity and accept me for me and everything. I mean, there was a time when I was younger, I would refuse to tell people where I was brought up, and I would just kind of brush around the subject because I don't want the judgment, because I couldn't really, I didn't want to do it. And I remember, you know, trying to explain this to my middle class husband who'd had, you know, a really good upbringing, and
that's like, yeah,
and
I feel so relatable like right now.
And he just, he didn't get it. And there was one time we were out with his friends, I think, and I was obviously feeling very confident this day, and I was like, someone asked me where we stayed, and we actually bought, our last property was in the area that I was brought up in, because it was a old family house. We bought it for a good deal, you know, get on the property ladder. And then, as you know, I think it was Chris that came out and said, this is where we're from. And this woman, honestly, for 20 minutes, just went and just bitched about the area and just said how crap it was, how this and this. And then I remember just sitting there, just like almost wanted to burst out in tears, because everything that I'd done that I was ashamed of was just validated, because that's exactly how some people react. And I felt like my identity just kind of completely broke that down, because there's so many people that judge people on like small things. And like things that, and that's what my worry is about being a sort of parent or a mum, is that I've worked so hard to have this identity as Karla, that it's me, all my flaws, my strengths, my areas that I'm developing, and this is me. And then just to have, you know, that all gone, and then have being a mum rather than just being just a part of my identity. It worries me. Because it's just a part.
It does happen. Like, I'm not even gonna like act like it doesn't, because it does. And then because like I don't tell people that I'm a mom straight away, because I guess that's what you're supposed to do, like in random conversation. Hey, I'm a mom. Like, yeah, nice to meet you. I remember I tell people, like, maybe we've spoken for like a couple hours or something like that. And I'll be like, oh yeah, like I have kids, and they don't believe me because I didn't bring it up straight away, because my whole identity didn't revolve around being a parent. And so maybe I'm a shit parent because my whole life and every word vomit of my fucking vocabulary doesn't revolve around my kids and all of this. I'm happy to talk about my kids all day and all night, but I'm also aware that other people don't care. Actually, a lot of people don't care about your kids. Like, yeah, so it's like it's just being mindful and actually listening to other people as well.
So yeah, I would say arguably it makes you a better mum to be like that, because I just don't think it's healthy for anyone to have one thing as their identity. It's like work's part of my identity, but I don't tell every single person what I do, and you know, straight away. And it's the same with where I stay, you're made up of lots of different things, and I just think it's just not healthy for anyone. But I do think that it goes into what Maggie said earlier about so many people have kids for the wrong reasons. And I think one of the reasons that people have kids is that they're insecure in themselves, and they project those insecurities onto their kids, and that becomes their identity because of narcissism, to be honest, because it's like an extension of them. And if they're talking about their kids all the time, it's maybe they've got unfulfilled needs or desires that they haven't been able to address or do anything with. So what's the next thing to do? Let's have a child and let's talk about my child. Like, that's my biggest achievement in life. And of course it's a huge thing. And, you know, I do love kids. I think, you know, it's hard being a parent. I've witnessed enough people to have kids and to see, and this is why I made the decision not to do it, because I just think that there is this unhealthy attitude that people are. I guess it goes out to similar to when people are at work, or if they work long hours, or they say this or that, and if you're not stressed and burnt out, are you really doing a good job? And I feel like it with parenting, sometimes it's like, if you're not constantly talking about your kids, are you a good parent?
Are you actually a good? Yeah. Are you even a parent?
Yeah. It's just,
yep. I still am.
It is. It's just, it's one of these really kind of funny things. But I think, you know, as you want to have a role model of a parent who is everything, who's got an identity away from, you know, their kids, because I think that's important for their mental health, for if they get into a relationship, if they want that with someone, to have that too. And I mean, I follow a ton of like people on Instagram, like our parents, that I look up to them and think they're role models. And it, you know, they barely mention their kids. They'll mention it in passing, like it's like their job or like other things, and it's just their whole life does not evolve around them being a parent, and that's how it should be, because you want your kids. You want you to grow up. And I think maybe that's why there's such an issue, people assuming that people want kids, because they have parents. Their parents are just, that's their whole identity. So like, well, you know, you can't have a separate identity. You need to also have kids to then be the same as me. Whereas I think if you have a parent, or if you've got a role model, a female or a male, whatever you are, and you see that they've got this whole holistic identity where they are a parent or they're not, and they've got other things going on, then it's just more, it's more feasible then to choose what you actually want to do with your life, because there's not one route into it.
Yeah.
I think. And it's one, that was the other thing that made me worry about me having kids or not having kids. And I remember having a meltdown a couple of years ago now, when my first friend had her child. Like, I knew she was going to have a baby. Like, she'd always talked about it, and it was fine. But kind of was out of the blue. She never kind of was telling her when she was trying, which is fine. I mean, why would you? And I remember thinking, I'm going to start losing friends. I'm going to be, because, and do you know what? It's funny, because I feel like I've had other friends who had kids, and they are very disparaging of people who don't have kids. And they're like, oh, well, they've left me behind, and they don't want to see me, so I don't go drinking anymore or whatever. And it's like, it's not that. I feel the same, because I feel like, well, people, because they assume because I don't want children, or I don't have children, that I don't want to hang out with them. I don't see them.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
And, you know, I like kids. I'm quite happy to compromise, or it's not even compromising. I'm quite happy to do daytime things.
Get my fill of children through your kids.
and it's a funny thing. I think it's a two-way street. And I do think that it's taken me a while to kind of go over that and realise, when that first meltdown happened, where I'm like, oh my God, am I just not going to be left behind and have no one who wants to hang out with me because I don't relate to them? Whereas, like, it is. I just think it's such a funny thing, but it wouldn't be an issue if you had more parents like you, where they saw as part of their identity, but not their full identity. Because you can, because sometimes I feel guilty, or I feel bad, like when I got friends or family members who've got kids, and you feel like you're constantly needing to mention them. Like some of my friends, you know, mention them, I'll be asking them how they are, and I just get random pictures of their kids with like no context whatsoever.
Cool.
Yeah, I was like, I like seeing them, but I feel like it makes it an awkward conversation, because I'm like, are you sending that to me because I should be constantly asking you about the kids? Like, and then it's such a weird kind of rocky territory, and I don't fully understand it. And I feel like I can't even bring it up to them, because it's always like, well, you don't have kids, you don't understand. It's like,
make me understand then. Like, just vent to me. I'm your friend. Like, it doesn't change the dynamics of a friendship. Yeah. Like, do you know, like, I don't know. I just find that because I never really thought about that, because I'm like the total opposite. I don't have any friends that have kids. Like, literally, because I find it really hard to be friends with other parents. Not because I don't like them. One, I'm really picky about people's kids. Like, if your kid is misbehaving and you don't know how to reprimand them in public or in any situation at all, and they're just like literally kicking you in the shins, I'm not gonna hang out with you because your kid sucks. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I have standards when it comes but yeah, I find that and maybe I'm in a sense doing that in reverse. Like, I find it really hard to open up and be like super close to like other parents because, again, all they want to do